And we're live!
Howdy, everyone.
Back again. This is episode 4 now of the State of Modern podcast.
Numero quattro.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. First one was just kind of our open, kind of ideas of what modern was, what we wanted to do, history we were going through, and now we're all the way up to 2013, which was modern wise, like kind of an eventful year, but like set wise, not really very much going on.
Yeah, it's kind of a dud.
Yeah.
This is like prime time for modern in my eyes. I was watching Pro Tour Born of the Gods. I think I referenced it in the first podcast
Mm-hmm.
of how I watched those matches. I'm like, this is it. This is what modern is to me.
Yeah, this is like this is where the format shook itself out, and like kind of we saw the archetypes come up really really well, and there's a really diverse kind of ground for everything to stand on, basically.
Yeah, and then the matches are just there's a lot of slow playing in some of the matches.
Yeah.
But there a lot of interaction, a lot of five head level thinking of okay, like yes, I could tap out on my main phase and make this very powerful play, but there is this chance that my opponent taps out or comes out and kills me the next turn.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in the splitter twin banning, which comes it comes a few years later, they reference that style of play and how they didn't like that and that's what they're trying to get away from. And I see that and I like that style of play. Most of the people that I played with at the time, they want that constant back and forth, this maybe not that feeling of like okay, I could just die on turn 4 period, but I know I have to hold mana up. I can only do certain things at certain times
Mm-hmm.
and respond.
Where
Yeah.
you're no longer focused about, okay, I just need an interaction piece to deal with this. It's a more, I think it's you something along the lines of it's more oh, what's the word? Wasn't it? You get more of the minor utility out of each interaction you get. So you're not going for like a big winning play or a big shutdown or something like that, or a 1-to-1 shutdown in that situation. You're maybe losing something or gaining a little bit in each interaction, but the incremental advantage is what wins you the game more than just that one card hitting the board.
Big
Yeah.
bang of
Yeah.
oh, I cascaded into whatever spell
Mhm.
or I griefed had the reanimate spell
Yeah, I
right
got
on the
lucky and
stack.
I drew
Yeah.
I have like the 3 cards I needed in my opening
Mhm.
hand.
These even if you had Pestermite Splitter Twin in your hand, that's not necessarily a keepable hand.
Mhm.
Whereas if you have Grief a black card and that reanimate spell, and I mean it lands in all these situations.
Yeah.
That is a key. Like you're keeping that hand.
Right.
Period.
Right.
And you have less ways of interacting with that grief on 1 than Splinter Twin on 4.
Mhm. And I feel like even the removal in this era of Magic is much more split and separated than removal is now. Where like you have single target removal like Solitude, for example, at instant speed for free. Um, Back then, I was really looking at like the finals matchup from the World Championship for 2013, and it was Boggles versus like controller Boggles versus Jund when Duke was playing some of his earlier matches, or Reed Duke, and I just noticed that a lot of the removal, was very selective. Like it was either a Liliana down tick was the only way to get rid of a hexproof creature, or they had to go with like a minus X spell to the board, or
Engineered
Pyroclasm
explosives
or
is a big one. Yeah.
EE was really huge in that one. But it's just like you had it was a lot easier for different deck archetypes to thrive because of how diverse the removal was. In a way, it kind of seems to me.
Yeah, I guess. So I looking, I was just thinking this like we could kind of define each of the eras of like what's the removal look like, what's the creature base look like, and
Mm-hmm.
then like what are the combos looking like. And to easily knock out the combos, it's like Splitter Twin Birthing Pod, aka the Malira combo, more or less,
Storm.
Storm, and Scape Shift.
Yep.
The removal: Lightning Bolt, Lightning Helix, Path to Exile,
Terminate.
Terminate.
Um, Abrupt Decay.
Yeah. So like the black removal is pretty lacking up until the point we get Fatal Push.
Dismember's pretty good one too.
Oh yeah, that's played in a lot of different decks.
Still
I'm
to this day.
missing that. Yep.
Um, I mean there is removal there, right? Like there's removal to get rid of the creatures and stuff like that.
You
But
could you could put the discard spells in that category as well to an extent.
Mhm.
Yeah, and so the counter magic. I mean, most of the counter magic we see is remands and cryptic commands,
Yeah,
and then spell snare. Uh, you don't really see that anymore, but yeah.
yeah. Now it's a counterspell. Counterspell is the best right at this moment. Force and negation, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Are like two of the only real playable counterspells in modern at the moment that I can think of. You could kind of
there's a
put
lot of other stuff.
subtlety in that a little bit as like a blue spell. It bounces back to the hand, so
Those lower not a Fora or Jam It kind of card is like yeah subtlety.
mm-hmm.
Is it Reprieve, the blue remand, or I'm sorry, the white remand.
Oh yes, yeah. What Reprieve from
Even
Lord of the
remand
Rings
to
set.
a tiny extent. Stern Scolding, I don't think that gets enough play.
Yeah,
And
yep.
then Spell Snare does still get played to this day as like that one of slot, the gotcha slot.
Mm-hmm. I've been seeing some people play with the up the beanstalk control because I that's the deck I'm trying to play on Friday, or I was looking at for FNM. Um, they've been playing Logic Knot too again.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah, which is
Yes.
really cool. I've
Yeah.
always loved Logic Knot. That's a pretty sweet card for having Delve on it. I think that's one of the cards that's pretty fair for having Delve. So
I did forget another one for more recently is like or Flusterstorm and Spell Pierce.
Flusterstorm. Yep, I totally forgot about that one. That one, I like. I remember when it got released in Modern Horizons 1, and it dropped super hard, and I regret not picking up my playset because I was like, oh, Flusterstorm, it's not really seeing that much play right now, and here we are with everyone casting 2 to 3 spells a turn, and it's just like, all right, you kind of need to have it.
I had two of them for Legacy before it even dropped. And
Yeah.
I picked up my last two almost right away. I probably over traded for them, but
Mm,
at least I'm sitting here with my 4 Flusterstorms today.
yep.
And so going back to that breakdown of the format and the removal, I think we got that covered pretty well. Then there's some creature based decks that play creatures as the removal.
Mm,
The main creatures of the format, uh, Termagoyf, easy. Check that off. In the
Kiki Jiki specifically.
yeah,
Premier
those
Rager.
types of cards.
I mean, him as a card, he definitely saw probably, well, at least in all those combo decks, like the toolbox decks too, played him,
Mhm.
right? The Resto Kiki Jiki and Zealous Conscripts Kiki Jiki. And Splinter Twin decks too, right? Some of them played like one or two of.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Especially if you're going more into the red white build,
Okay.
you weren't going Turbo Twin.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Snapcaster Mage.
absolutely. Yeah, that was the next one on my list.
Yep.
I want to put Celestial Colonnade in that list too for
Ooh.
like all the Sean McLaren.
Raging Ravine in that same vein then.
Absolutely.
Treetop Village.
Yeah, why not? The fact that they were playing that many creature lands is crazy.
Oh yeah, and the best part about it was like you got to see them get activated pretty often. You like it mattered having creature lands
Oh
in a
man,
lot of matchups.
I remember playing America Control against Jun, and if you had to have the bolt or a helix right there on the spot, because if it hit that next level,
Yep.
you're getting 2 for 1 to deal with that land
Yep.
again. Like,
Oh, I've gotten killed by Raging Ravines before,
yeah.
for sure.
And the worst feeling is having to path to exile a Raging Ravine. That is up to tick to 4. It really sucked.
Yep.
But usually you're gonna lose that game.
Mm-hmm.
Batterskull. In the Pro Tour coverage, they talk a lot about Batterskull, and there's like a blue moon. I guess that top 8, going back, that top 8 is a lot of blue mirror matches.
Yeah.
And then like Sam Pardee is playing Pod. He was very well known for that, playing Pod and popularizing that deck.
Mm-hmm.
He's a Channel Fireball guy from Cedar Rapids, like the our kind of area. It's more an Iowa City player.
Sure.
He's pretty good friends with Sam Pardee. Did I say Sam Black originally?
I don't know.
Or Sam Pardee. It's Sam Pardee.
Sam Pardee, I think he's
yeah, Sam Pardee. He kind of gets some bad luck in the top 8, so you don't get to see Pod's like true glory in that top 8 coverage.
Well, even like I was looking at the top 8s for the Grand Prix from this year, and quite a few of them had pod lists. So I was kind of surprised not to see a lot of it, even in like the World Championship. I didn't see very much of it in that top brackets of the games I watched. So
yeah, this is when America Control really starts to get some wins. It won the World Championship and it won the Pro Tour that year.
Mm-hmm.
Sean McLaren with it, and then Shenhar Shahar. Got it. I think I got it.
Shenhar Shahar. That sounds correct.
It's better than Paulo Vito Bag of Doritos.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, I remember watching that Worlds. I was really rooting for Reed Duke to win it, even though he's scum lording it with Boggles.
That was hilarious. I didn't expect Reed to play Boggles. I never would have known. I hadn't watched that championship before, so this is the first time I watched it, and I had no clue he played Boggles.
It came out of nowhere.
Yeah,
nobody expected it.
Oh, I trust me. Every time I was watching a match of his, they're like, they go to the sideboards and they're like, yeah, he doesn't. They don't ever really have a lot of ways to deal with this, and and Reed would usually, like against Jund, he'd board in 4 of his ley lines and then just go to town if he could get it. Mm-hmm. Like it was almost unstoppable at some point. It seemed like
it felt like when he went up against Shenhar in the finals, this is like, this is unwin. Like, there's no way this guy's gonna win, or Shenhar is gonna win it. This is not possible. Mm-hmm. Spoiler alert: he does.
It's pretty impressive too. You really. There was a lot of times where he let the advantage slip away from him on purpose for the incremental gain. Mm-hmm. Exactly what I was talking about, where he was gaining resources by letting his opponent have something, but he knew that he could still save him. He had outs, right? Like he had bolts, he had helixes, stuff like that. Ways to just to deal direct damage to Reed, and that's what won him. I think 2 of his games was just being able to deal the direct damage.
Oh yeah, bolt or something like that.
Yeah,
bolt.
It was bolt snap helix, bolt snap bolt helix. Yeah, and then something else. I think electrolyze.
Oh yeah, electrolyze. I really miss that card. Mm-hmm. That was a fun one. Mm-hmm. Helix is practically gone from the format too.
Yeah.
Path to Exile is 100% gone from the format. The fact that we are seeing the Logic Knot is insane to me. Yeah. I saw that on the list and I was like, yeah, I get it. I think it's a cute tactic, but I don't know.
I think it's pretty funny.
I think it's so. Another point that we've talked about of like this podcast of like, would some of these older decks stand up to today? And I recently looked at Storm and that one just does not seem viable. And then we looked at those Scape Shift lists last week, and I went, oh, maybe Scape Shift's a little more viable because you get more copies, whether you're going with the card Wish and getting it out of the sideboard, or Bring to Light.
You're right.
And then I want to say like last week, right after, or sometime last week, we saw a Bring to Light Scape Shift list
I did.
do okay in like one of the
Yeah.
challenges.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a second. Now that they're playing up the Beanstalk, they cut their counter magic from the main deck.
Mhm.
And I was like, this is perfect. And that's considered the best deck. The One Ring is not the best for the deck. And I was like, dude, I could almost play this old school Scape Shift list. Uh, and I'm considering it for tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then you see the new tech of those Logic Knots, which does bring counter magic into it.
Yeah.
Hurts my strategy a bit. But it's yeah, I want to play like they're playing Search for Tomorrow again. I thought that card was gone forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's really rewarding to see. I mean, for me, too, it's rewarding to see that even Control is breaking back into the metagame, because it felt like it kind of just got blown away for a little bit.
I don't know if it's like calling that deck Control is hard.
Right.
It really is.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, I saw that Scape Shift list. It seems really good with Bring to Light and the Beanstalk. I think that was a pretty big game changer for a lot of decks.
Mm-hmm.
Just really introduced that passive card draw for especially Bring to Light. You know, you cast it, get Escape Shift.
Whew.
Oh, we lost our
no.
cube.
Oh no. I'm sorry, little guy. I'm gonna have to put you down.
Bring to Light. So Bring to Light. Get the Scape Shift. Cast that. That's 2 cards, and then you get to like attempt to kill your opponents. So you potentially just draw into backup resources that you can use. It's so good. It seems really awesome.
Yeah, I don't know what new cards I'd put in. I don't want to play a Bring a Light build. I think I'd aim more for the Wish build
Oh, okay.
and go that route. Yeah, the Bring to Lights are looking way too close to just an Omnath list. Not as much as the old school like Remand,
Yeah.
Cryptic Command style decks.
Yeah, especially if you can get Omnath. Like, why not?
Because Rhinos could easily deal with like a Cryptic Command if you're trying to fog with the Cryptic Command to get your 5th land with, like you need so 5 lands with a prismatic. What's the Dryad of Illusion Grove? So if you have that on the field, and you Scape Shift on 5, that's 5 ETBs. Of 3. That's 15 damage. So that's practically lethal.
You get 2 Valakutes though.
Oh yeah, you do get 2 Valakutes.
Yep.
So
30 damage.
Well, you could get all 4 Valakutes at that.
Oh, if you put 4 Valakutes in there.
If you have the Dryad, yeah.
Yeah. If you're running 4 Dryads and
back in the day, some people might run like 1 Prismatic Omen in their is it Prismatic Omen?
Yeah.
Yeah, yep. Omen.
That's the one you think.
In their deck. That card just got reprinted. Less than $1 now.
It's crazy. It used to be $20. I remember it was $20 and I was like, this card's awesome. This is the only card that does this. And now it's 72 cents on TCG Player. That's crazy.
Pick them up now, kids. Run on the Prismatic Omens.
There's a bunch of good ones that got reprinted. Grave Pact, Sneak Attack got another reprint.
Ristic Study, but that didn't affect the price much.
No, because they printed like the super confetti version or whatever. It's the most expensive card in the set, $300.
It's competing with the OG foiling, the Ristic Study OG foiling from
from Prophecy.
Prophecy, yeah. So our friend Subway told me that just the other day, and I was like, "That's a goddamn shame." Got
all these Zoomers and their anime cards.
These weebs. Let me actually, we don't have YouTube pulled up, so I don't know if anybody's in chat right now.
Oh, that's a good point. There's 2 people watching. Is there?
Oh no. Maybe we just missed it. Pop out chat. Boom.
Oh, what was I thinking lost my thought.
I don't know. Should we just start hopping in and seeing
Yeah. Start at the beginning of the
what
year.
the year looks like? I didn't get a chance to look at the Grand Prix. I know you did all the prep work for today.
Yeah, I just kind of
So
took a glance at most of them. I took a look at the banned and restricted announcements through this year, which right off the bat in January we had a pretty interesting year. Started with the Grand Prix uh, Bilbao January 1st, and then that month I'm not sure when. I didn't get a chance to look at the actual date. Bloodbraid Alpha and Seething Song got banned in January.
All right, there we go. Now we can.
So that's pretty significant for Jund and very significant for Storm. I don't even. Storm was playing. Were they playing 4 copies of Seething Song in their deck?
I don't recall. Like, yes, I think so. I'm pretty certain it is due to Pass in Flames. When you can Seething Song into Pass in Flames with extra mana,
and then you have enough mana to just pass the button.
Yeah, I think that might have pushed it over. It was just I always when they do bannings, I always kind of think back of this era of when they just never banned any of the Storm cards. They banned around it.
Mm-hmm.
This is always what I'm referring to is Ponder, Preordain, Seething Song. The Ponder and Preordain hit multiple combo decks, so that made a lot more sense. It just felt like they really were trying to attack Storm, and then they gave it Pass in Flames and just pushed it over the edge.
Yeah. So this is like back then. This is probably they were more conservative about the bannings, using them more as a way to kind of chip at the deck and just be like, okay, we're gonna take this stab out of it. Now you have to figure out some different synergy to make that archetype still work.
That's a great way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So let's look at this Grand Prix. Okay, first place, America Control.
There it is.
All right, this is more of that mid-range deck that we saw last week.
Oh,
really? Yeah.
Where it's still running the Geist of St. Traffs.
Yes.
And Aven Mind Sensor, and 3 of V-Click. This is very aggressive, a lot more creature heavy than like an Angel Control deck for sure.
It definitely it is warping into the Sean McLaren America Control list.
Mm-hmm. Definitely has a good removal package. The 4 bolts, 4 helix. Is it charm? It's really cool. That card is. I will really like that card. I don't know why I've always liked Is it charm. It's just such a cool card.
Yeah, that was back when they gave out like cool FNM promos that they specifically printed as FNM promos.
Mm-hmm.
That was one I really went after.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the Path to Exiles with Narset like planeswalking for the first time.
Oh yeah.
I love the story behind that art.
Yeah.
Yeah. Electrolyze 3 of them. I
Yeah.
like the way this person thinks.
Really damage heavy. Definitely lots of snap bolts on that.
This is our classic Jund list. I mean, this is its final form right here almost.
Yeah, right before the Bloodbraid Elf ban too.
Mm-hmm.
It's 4 Bloodbraid, 4 Confidant, 4 Shamans, 4 Glyphs. Still running Kitchen Finks.
Yeah. Most of the Jund lists that you play anymore run like 6 of these types of slots, the Inquisition or Thoughtseize. Mm-hmm. This runs playing 7, but I mean, this is a really solid list. I'd play that list.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. Scapeshift, bringing it back. Sakura Tribal. I saw Scapeshift playing Sakura Tribelder. It was a Wish style deck. I looked at an old Scapeshift list and I was like, well, I don't think we're playing Sakura Tribelder. I was definitely wrong. We're putting that bitch in the deck.
Yeah, because a lot of decks, especially even Primetime now, have cut Elder for Arboreal Grazer. Just better at 1. Like, just slam an extra land down. So
yeah. Blocks way better, surprisingly. Clutch the Undercity. Okay, you didn't really see much of this.
I missed this card. Not.
It's Transmute.
Oh, that's okay. Yep, Transmute for Scape Shift.
Our boy Scape Shift.
So Bring to Light immediately just completely replace that. Yeah,
Yeah,
this deck
anyways.
looks very close to something you could play today. Serum Visions instead you get Preordain.
Well, you play Preordain instead Telling Time.
Oh, yep.
Serum Vision stays. Search for Tomorrow. Remand. You could go into multiple colors. You could go into 3 colors easy with the Triomes.
Mm-hmm.
So you could be playing Remand and then the Reprisal. And like
cut some of that stuff for the Dryads.
But then it's like, why? Okay, why aren't you just going into Omnath decks with 4 color like the what's the enchantment that O-ring something that's 6 mana with Domain.
Leyline Binding.
Leyline, but why aren't you playing Leyline Binding? Why aren't you playing Prismatic
Enemy? That was literally my next thought was, oh, you just cut some more stuff and then you can add in Leyline Bindings because you got the Triomes.
We're almost in a position. I remember when people would complain constantly about Blood Moon, and we see the Blue Moon deck get designed and played in this Pro Tour at the end of this year, and it's like, man, where are the days where we could play Blood Moon again, like that Blue Moon deck to really punish those 4-colored lists? But as long as they play 1 planes in their list and they're smart enough to fetch for it, never gonna matter.
Yep.
Those land punishing mana bases just don't really exist anymore. Tectonic Edge isn't good enough. I could possibly see like a strong blue white deck, a strict control deck that plays like the what's that first uncommon I traded for you? Traded from you. It was at a pre-release, and I was like, it was like Ixalan card. I was picking them up, and you're like, why the hell are you trading for an uncommon land? Field of Ruin.
Oh, yeah.
Field
of Ruin. Yep.
You were like,
I had to think about that one for a minute. I was like, what does this one do? Yeah, and then I read it, and I was like, oh, okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah. It's just one of those Magic learning lessons where it's like...
Ops. That was you were trying to pick up Ops off of me, too, and I read the card, and I was like, oh, Opt is really good. This seems all right. And started to figure out, what's actually a good from a bad card from there.
So. Yeah, what's playable in the format versus its rarity are 2 different things. And
completely different.
You see in every set, like a big one from this, I'm just off the top of my head, Wear Tear, uncommon. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know card stores that have never been able to keep those in stock. For even to this day, I know for a fact. They're always looking for them.
Yeah. 3 Cryptics. That's pretty sweet.
Farseek. Another John. Another Cryptic.
So it's playing Fire Spots.
Peer through the depths instead of those.
One of Prismatic Omen as well.
Yeah, there it is.
So.
Called it. Gifts. So this is...
Gifts and Burial Rites.
Same one. This might be one of its... Well, Deathrite Shaman lasts for like a whole nother year.
Yeah.
So this deck's gonna show up.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Gifts, Lingering Souls.
I don't recognize any of these top 8 names. This is a Kiki Jiki list with Resto Angels. I don't see Molira in here.
Yeah. No Molira.
What do we got here? Almost the same list.
Almost exactly the same. No Wire Arcs, Wall Roots, Birthing Pods, Chords, all that good stuff.
They must have been friends. So yeah, that tournament, nothing mind blowing, no new decks to the format. Mm-hmm. Things are tightening up. And then, later in January, Bloodbraid Elf gets hit. So Jund gets its first
kick in the legs.
Yeah, card. That's the first card it gets banned.
I think that and Deathrite Shaman are the only cards to really get banned out of that archetype, right?
I believe so. I'd have to go back and look at the entire ban list, but so far, yeah.
Yeah.
Gatecrash comes out in February 1st. My birthday, don't forget. More Shocklands come out.
Yep,
they complete the cycle of them that in that set, and then in Dragon's Maze, the next set, they're in the basic land slot. You could get shock lands, which was cool.
Oh, really? Okay.
That was one of the first times they ever really messed with slots like that.
Yeah.
I know before, like in Zendikar, you could get the real lottery cards where you could get these hidden treasures in the first print run of Zendikar.
Yeah, it was like actual reserve list cards and stuff like that,
Oh
wasn't
yeah,
it? Yeah.
duels, mocks. It was so long ago that you'd hear like rumors on the internet. You'd hear the rumors,
Yeah.
but like they were so goddamn rare, you really weren't gonna likely witness it. So it was almost an urban legend
Hmm.
of like, yeah, these cards are in there, and oh yeah, there's a certain way you can tell with a barcode that it's the first printing. And
Yeah. I remember doing some research on that, trying to figure out, see if they were traceable or something like that. And I basically came to the same result where it was like, yeah, it's impossible now. It's just so hard to find them.
oh yeah, I like unless you really kept track of it when that first dropped and believed it and didn't sell out of your first run of inventory.
Yep.
Because a lot of card stores, I mean, even to this day, they buy their product on credit and they need to sell what they have in order to get the next round. And if
Mhm.
you're a card store doing that with Zendikar, you weren't going to have any.
Yeah, we called out Subway.
Yeah.
And then Rowan's here. Welcome, Rowan. Gaming. We're talking about card supply of Zendikar and lottery cards and shocks
The,
and
the original lottery cards.
yeah, original. And I wonder if that had some inspiration to do with the expeditions later too,
Oh, absolutely.
where they were just like, oh, people love that. All right, we're gonna jam the expeditions in here now too.
It influenced that. It influenced the Legends cards in the Dominaria set.
Yep.
Uh, yeah. I mean, pretty cool stuff.
Yeah.
It's fun that they have. I mean, I heard rumors that they bought all of that power and dual lands, like whether it's from people who worked at WotC or just got it online or I don't know. Uh, they have old Magic product like Beta and Legends sitting around, and every so often they break it out, and there are opportunities to play with that product. And I don't know. I think there was a genuine feeling that that's what Magic 30 was going to be for them. They were trying to do that, but with the price tag, that was crazy. I mean, that's
It was.
kinda,
Oh yeah, I know. I
that's
did.
another tangent.
I did the modern tournament.
Mhm.
I was at the modern tournament in Vegas for the beta draft. Was the top 8 winning prize. So if you made it to top 8, you got the beta draft. I fell short really quick. I did not make it very far because I was playing Amulet Titan and I got pretty worn out by about the third or fourth game. Of spent a lot of time playing against 4-color Omnath control. I'm not gonna lie, that deck was a pain in my ass.
Was saw the Evo creatures out at this time?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
This was Magic 30.
Oh,
so,
Magic 30.
yeah, yeah. And our buddy Spencer was playing at the time too. He was playing Hammer Time. He made it a little bit further than I did, but neither of us made it to day 2, or got invited to Basically, it was a tournament on Friday, tournament on Saturday, and out of all those people, those top 32, I think, got invited to Sunday, and then you all fought it out for the top 8. But it was, yeah, everything besides that, like, it was very hard to find old. There's nothing else old product wise, right? They didn't really kind of try to create that Magic 30 experience. There wasn't much of that.
They got to test the waters somehow.
Mhm.
It's a shame, and almost everybody that I talked to, is the issue was the price point. If they lowered that price point, even if they priced it at a normal set price, it would have been a home run.
Mhm.
But
Mhm. Yeah, and we even got given packs for free Like
Mhm.
we had the lucky experience of getting a Magic 30 pack for free there, and I didn't want to open it. My first instinctual thought was, what's the quickest way I can get this off of my hands because it feels like a tainted product.
Mm. I remember when we were talking about it.
Yeah, yeah. And like our buddy Spencer, he takes it as a memory, so he stuck it in a plastic case and he's gonna leave it there. And I sold mine for $400, and our buddy Jack sold his for $400.
Pay for the trip.
Yep, basically. So it was just one of those things where the product was so bad, I didn't want to hold on to it. Like it wasn't.
It's a hot potato.
No, it
Yeah.
wasn't. It didn't bring me any joy. Or the only thing it was like a good memory of getting to play a game of Commander
Mhm.
with some friends in Vegas. So yeah, wasn't that huge of a fan of Magic 30.
I don't know very many people who were.
Yeah.
No more $20 fetches.
They're cheaper now. I think the Zendikar cycle right now is less than $15.
We'll look up something here. We're gonna go back to this.
The Modern Masters release date, June 7th, 2013 was the Modern Masters release.
That's
date.
a relevant one.
Yep, I missed that.
I had a feeling. I had a feeling because I mean, this is a great segue into the reprints. So we're jumping ahead into the year a little further than what we've gotten to on our list. But you weren't playing Magic at the time.
No.
This set was considered to be the potential financial apocalypse for Magic cards because you know the history about Chronicles. It came out and nuked the price on all of these cards.
Oh yeah.
And this was back when I think
and that was part of the Dawn of the Reserve list, right?
It triggered the creation. Yeah.
Yep, was Chronicles. So Modern Masters. What was that like when it came? Coming out, because you played at that time, didn't you?
Yeah, I drafted the set.
Okay.
I remember. There was Battle Zone Games, the one that Matt Foster, the guy who was on last podcast, he ran. They ran a draft the moment they could because they had more restrictions back then, and everybody came out of the woodwork for that draft. It was. I remember I couldn't show up right away for it, so I came later just to see all these people who drafted. And it's like a lot of people who I kind of loosely knew who've like been to the pro tour, and like I got to see these guys draft in like at a very high level.
Yeah.
With these like this whole set catered to it with all these cool archetypes that you don't really see in draft or you didn't at the time.
In a standard set.
Yeah, nowadays it's somewhat commonplace to see a lot of those archetypes. And God, it was so much fun. But leading up to that, yeah, there's a lot of fear of, oh my God, this is gonna tank the modern market. Who knows what's gonna happen? Termagoyf was in that set, and I remember like cards were getting spoiled. I remember we were at the point where we had all of like about the whole set spoiled, and I was trying to calculate like the expected value of a pack of Modern Masters, and it was very hard at the time because all of the cards were black bordered. They're newer, updated versions. Usually, newer versions aren't worth as much, but there's a lot more variables going into it, and then like we had some existence of cards that were getting reprinted and we could kind of track what the price did, but not at this scale. Not at like there's such a high demand for just the physical cards at the time, and then when that hit, Termagoyf's price went up when the reprint happened.
Wow.
And back in the day, I wrote an article about like that sentiment. Like people know it now, and even Rudy brings it up. But it was, or what I saw, I witnessed this multiple times. everybody was sitting watching somebody open a box of Modern Masters, and they would crack that Goif, and it's like the shop owner would go, "I'll give you another box for the Goif." That was just like the standard rate right there, and they would go, "No," and then instead of putting that Goif into the market, they went, now I'm one Goif closer to my play set.
Yeah.
And now they just created a demand. Instead of a supply of one, they just created a demand of three.
Up. Right.
And so the price went down like $1, and then it went up like $50 after that or something.
That's crazy.
And that just doesn't happen with cards anymore. I haven't even seen somebody open a box and been that like enamored by cracking a card. I remember when my friend Todd opened the foil Goif out of Modern Masters, and I saw him open it, and he was sitting there shaking, looking at the card, and I was just like, "Somebody get this man to sleep."
Oh yeah, even the packs that I cracked in my day, like the last good time I can remember cracking a pack was when I opened that pack of Dominaria you traded to me, and I pulled it to Fairy, and David Lowe. It was you, me, David Lowe, David D Lowe, and I think someone else, and I cracked that, and I was like, holy shit, because it was the last Teferi I needed for control, and that was, that was like the card to pull out of that set. So, but yeah, it did. Nowadays it just doesn't.
You don't get that right. And like recently, the Nissa from Aftermath, I was like, for my FNM packs, or where we play at First Turn Games, it's skins. So there's 4 rounds, and if you win that round, you get a pack at the end of the night. So you could get like 4 booster packs for 4 rounds. And they're cool. They always give people pity packs. Like if you go 0-4, you're still gonna get something. That tournament payout was actually critical in this time frame, but we'll talk about that maybe in a little bit. The Nissa from Aftermath, I was all of my FNM packs, I was just, we're gonna crack them until we get a Nissa. I hit the Nissa, I was like, okay, that's done. That's it. That's all I felt. And I know Rudy and Alpha Investments has been going on and on about he's anti booster pack fun, and I think it just like we went from, it was just an escalation of just like, now we went from heroin to fentanyl.
Oh yeah, no, the tap has run dry, so they're reaching for higher and higher, because like now it's, you can get, so you've gone from normal variants or normal versions and then foils, to extended arts and foils, and then you got showcase and foils, and then now you have these special foil edition runs, right? Like the confetti or the surge foil or the textured foil, and those are like, 1 in 200 fucking boxes or something stupid. There's so few of them that you have to crack, double the product in cost to actually open that one card if you wanted it.
Oh, statistically.
Yeah, it's just like there's such a high ceiling that the floor has dropped lower. The rare the value in cards has completely gone down. In normal, like you open a draft booster, it's not worth it to buy a draft booster anymore.
Yeah.
Like in order to retain value in cards as a Magic player, if you wanted to not go negative, don't buy a booster pack. Just don't buy a booster pack, right? Because the value of cards that you can crack out of it will 99% of the time always be less than the card's value that you crack.
Yeah, that was one of the biggest lessons I learned in Magic. This was even way before Modern. I ran into a friend. He played Dragon Ball Z, and I looked up to him a lot. He quit that, played Magic. I ran into him, and I'm like, he had a box, and I was like, why do you have all these booster packs unopened? It just blew my mind. I was like, what? You gotta crack those.
Yeah.
And he's like, what's the odds that what do you think if you I cracked that? Do you think you're gonna get a card that you want? And I was like, no. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna get like a 10-cent card. What's the chances of me getting a $20 card? And he's like, if I open all of these packs, do you think I'm gonna get that 20? And he didn't break it down statistically,
Yeah, but
like
you made
we'll
it
learn
aware.
eventually. But he went, here's 10 packs. Do you think I'm gonna get that card, that one card out of the entire set, the Umazawa's Jitty out of Betrayers? I was like, no, I don't think so. And then that just completely changed my mind on opening packs. And for
Mhm,
the longest time, I refused to crack packs.
mhm.
We would like, I would use them as trade, the currency in trade. And there was a time where we played Legacy, and we bet every match was we were betting a pack of Magic cards, and I really missed that.
Yeah,
That was so much fun.
yeah.
Uh, but going back, I guess going back to Modern Masters, uh, yeah, people were afraid. It was hard to calculate the prices of the cards because they were very different. We knew there was still going to be demand, but the packs were. I don't. I wish I remembered how much they retailed for. Um,
If it would have followed probably the normal escalation, my guess would be somewhere around $10 a pack.
I know this is Matt would have been helpful in this.
10 to
But
15
yeah,
dollars.
we'll say like that price.
Rowan says I'd argue with lower overall prices, higher powered cards with so many variants means the power isn't in the price as much nowadays as accepting inflation is probably a good time for new players. TBH. I would agree that it's like now it's a lot cheaper to get into Magic than it has been because you can just buy a semi fine deck out of a bunch of trash rares that you know go fly under the radar because there's so many sets that exist nowadays.
Yeah,
So
Pioneer. You can get in Pioneer very cheap.
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
I think that maybe not just the power push, but also like the set speed, the speed at which sets are introduced and cards are introduced makes it hard to um,
keep up.
keep up or even figure out what's good.
Mm-hmm. I
But
I genuinely believe that is a part of their strategy. I think it's like I think on without the financial aspects and people having to constantly feel like they're buying new cards and getting burnt out on that,
mhm,
it is a good strategy because they are very afraid that with all this digital magic, people are going to solve the formats way quicker. And if you just keep dumping cards into the pool and they're pretty decent power level, people don't have time to suss it all out. We're already on the next set before like
right.
even Lord of the Rings really got played out.
Mhm,
Um, Played out to the extent that they would expect it to justify or not justify banning cards, which
yeah.
that also allows them not to have to ban cards as much.
Yep. Yeah. I mean that's something that I think modern has. Maybe that's something I'm kind of seeing is through my rose-colored glasses as an issue where I don't want modern to become that format where it just gets injected with enough sets quick enough that it's hard to keep up because like MH1 and MH2 have already made it a little bit difficult and stacking on Lord of the Rings and now we're gonna get like Assassin's Creed and whatever else coming out in the next couple of years, Modern Horizons 3.
And that doesn't include the mainline sets, the standard sets that do have cards that are the power level of modern at this point.
Yeah.
Up the Beanstalk just shifted the metagame from scam back to that four colored
Mm-hmm.
Omnath
Mm-hmm.
decks.
There's some powerful cards in Wild of the Veldrain. Besiege the Mirror, being able to just get any 4-drop. And then uh, the Soul Cauldron, Agatha's Soul Cauldron, is even seeing play.
Mm-hmm. Oh
And
yeah, it's like $50.
yeah, yeah. So,
But it goes back to like, okay, I pull that card, I still don't get the. I just pulled a Jace the Mind Sculptor feel. I just pulled a Termagoy feel,
mhm.
and going back to the Project Booster Fund, I mentioned this at a point. I helped the card store out a while. I wish I remembered the exact year. It wasn't any time by
The time where you were doing it for a pretty long stint.
Yeah, I was
Because
helping
I
them
think it
sort
was.
all their back stock.
Oh, I think it was probably 2019, 2018 or 2019. It would have had to 2019 or 20.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
2018
6 years
maybe.
ago.
Yeah.
It was around 6 years ago. Uh, I think it was. It might. I think it was 7 years ago. I remember saying like, "Why isn't Wizards printing full art cards way more than they are?" And I was like, I do them as promos and stuff like that, not necessarily throw them in packs. And then I was just like, when are we gonna go back to Kamigawa and have it all anime art or just like the anime art? Like I remember very aggressively telling people like, this is what they
Predicting the
need to be
future over here.
doing. Like
Yeah, predicting the
what
future.
they love like I'm not a huge like anime fan, but I was like every Magic player loves anime. Why aren't you intertwining these things?
Yeah.
And I didn't think they go as aggressively as they have. And like some of those things, they only last so long. Like the thrill of them lasts so long.
Yeah.
And there's a spider coming right down in front of me. And we've passed that point of that thrill of those slots, and so we need to get rid of them.
Yeah,
And
I
phase
think
them
they're just
out.
well overdone. Like I that was something that I was kind of hoping that they would avoid. Was maybe splice them into specific sets
Mm-hmm.
if they thought those sets were significant. For example, Aftermath being or March of the Machines being like the penultimate set of this long saga they set up story wise would maybe have full art cards or a certain showcase variant or something like that. But the fact that they've done both extended art and showcase in every single set moving forward from Booster Fun has just been ridiculous to entertain the amount of cards that you have to put up with. Just in variants, like uh, what are set numbers up to now? Like you can find sets that have numbers up into 800, 700, or
If
800s.
I didn't have a trading app, and maybe that's why people aren't trading as much. Yeah, maybe that
Yeah,
I'm sure
there's
that's
just
a percentage.
oh, that's part of the reason why I don't put a majority of my cards straight into my trade binder anymore. Is because the prices are so volatile. I can just be getting rid of a card that I spent $20 on a pack for it yesterday,
Yep.
and it's like 90 cents because the card dropped in price overnight.
Get rid of the hot potato.
Yeah,
That's how I feel about all my trade stuff now. It's just like I traded into a Necropotence thinking I was locking in solid value, and then they print it in a standard set.
yeah,
It's just like didn't see that one coming,
yeah.
and I just lost like 60% of my value immediately.
Mm.
Um, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, maybe this modern Masters is part of the start of it
It definitely. I mean,
in some
it
regards.
was the first like full on reprint set. I mean, you
Yeah,
had core sets, but those were a joke compared to this. This
and
is the
those
first
still.
time they really start charging more for packs.
Mhm.
So you have both of those really start to. That shows Hasbro. Let me take a step back. So I was watching Magic TV of the Magic Cruise, and Aaron Forsythe's giving a presentation. In that presentation, he talks about he goes our parent company.
Mhm.
Oh, for those of you who don't know, like as a genuine Jesse, he's like our parent company is Hasbro, and he's talking about revenue, and he's like Hasbro, and this was years ago. This is like probably around the time Modern started. He's like Hasbro. I mean, they care if revenue goes down, like, but they're not gonna freak out. It's like they want it to go up and stuff like that. This might have been the catalyst. Modern Masters might have been the catalyst for or Hasbro to really turn an eye on to Magic the Gathering and go, why don't we make this bad boy our cash cow?
Mhm.
And we can charge more for and I I do think it's fine for them to charge more for packs than just the standard packs. That's cool. But it's really starting to feel like they're strong arming us into it and
Well, especially
yeah.
when like the variants that they're giving us in the super expensive versions are they're 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 not that significant. It's like the cards are still they're still the same card work. They still feel the same. You can still hold them. They still bend the same. They still go through the same bend test. Why did these packs need to be $30 compared to $6? And maybe it's their way of trying to avoid having some money flow out of people's collections, where they're like, okay, we're gonna artificially hold up these prices by increasing the price of the product that they're in. But it sucks because it just makes cards unaccessible, and I don't really agree with it. I think that if they just took a very reserved approach to reprinting, and focus on what the players actually want, like what's needed in the game at the time. How is tabletop play doing in this and this format, and what kind of cards need to be injected into the player base? Maybe they could find a better solution than what they've done so far. But just, squirting cards in every direction for every format, it's like, holy crap.
Again, playing devil's advocate for WotC, I remember when the first Dominaria set came out. It might have happened for this Modern Masters set. They used to run out of product. For standard sets, for Dominaria, they ran out of product. So you have demand, but you won't have supply. So people are going to go elsewhere and spend their money. They're not going to wait on you. I've seen it time and time again with other card games where it's just like, oh, we ran out of stock. Okay, your card game is dead now.
Yep.
Happened to Keyforge. It happened to Dragon Ball Z game. It happens all the time. It's not going to happen to Magic, but like, it hurts. And so WotC is sitting there with it and going, we need to pump out more cards. And this is already when they get a huge player base. When Innistrad hit, that's when a huge group of players came into the game right at the time of Modern. Ravnica, Innistrad, even Theros. Like, I'm not a huge fan of Theros, but there are so many goddamn Theros cards out there.
Oh yeah,
trust me, I've sorted millions of cards, and the majority of them are fucking Theros.
No, it's crazy. Even in my collection, I'm like I did a sorting on my sets. I'm like, man, I have way too many Theros cards for not having opened any of this fucking set.
Wow. So
that's a pretty bold comment come from Subway.
Yeah,
Subway, our local anime lover over here, says, as much as I love what Magic is doing, I want to say fuck these anime arts. Too volatile for cards that are strong but have been printed for the umpteenth time. That's fair. Yeah. You really don't really know where these cards are going to go in like a couple months. I'm trying to think of a good example. March of the Machines was actually a pretty good example, because I had a showcase foil Elishorn and it was like $25, and now it's like $9 because the hype's just passed on.
You didn't even say the right set.
Huh? I think March of the Machines?
I thought you said Brothers War.
No, March of the Machines. Elishorn.
Yeah, I got you now. But then again, they're turning and burning products so fast, there can't be as much supply as there is for Theros. No matter what, like, another Magic TV thing that they talk about at one point how Revise was the most printed set. And this might have been before Innistrad, so things have definitely changed since then, but they're like, dual lands, why would those go up to like $100? Like, you guys don't understand how many of those are in existence.
Yeah.
And now the numbers eclipse that. And like, I kind of feel like, if I'm just going based off of the cards that I've seen, Theros was the most open set. And then Cons was pretty popular as well. Just that Innistrad, RTR, and Theros. That RTR block and Theros, holy hell, dude. People were going gaga for cards. And I think just because they're turning and burning sets so fast, you aren't actually getting that amount of cardboard into circulation as you used to.
Right.
I could be completely wrong on that. they could just be better at printing mass amounts in shorter periods of time.
Hmm.
Because you gotta keep those machines running. They ain't making any money if they're sitting there.
That's true.
Like I get it.
That's true.
That brings me back to the Dominaria thing of uh, people would say things like, "Oh, they'll just print more," and I'd say like, "Well, where the hell are they going to get the machines to print more? They have a production schedule,
Hmm.
and they're printing the set that you're going to buy in 2 months. Like they're preparing for the next big bang." Like they would have to either find more machines or stop the production of those
Yeah.
to make more of this product, and it would have to be hot enough to justify that interruption in production.
Yeah.
And I mean, I talked to some people, and they're like, yeah, I mean, if it looks right, if you have enough distributors, they're gonna light up the machines because all you have to do is switch out the JPEG or whatever it
Yeah,
is
yeah,
in the
scan the
machine.
barcode,
Yeah.
set it to the right size, and just run it through the
Mhm.
rollers.
There are a lot more aspects of it. Like
Oh,
you
yeah.
have all distribution line to line up, and then you have
No, but the process of
yeah.
just changing between sets, as long as you have a facility set up. I've done line work, you've done line work.
Mhm.
We both know.
But
So,
it was way easier to switch your production run back then than it is today because you have so many different lines. You have so many different materials that the cards are made out of
Mhm.
now, and the products are made out of. That like back then, the booster packs were the same material, same ink.
Yep.
Cards were the same material, same foiling,
Yep.
same everything,
Yeah.
and so you could just swap that out. Now it's like you have graffiti foiling and halo foiling.
Yeah.
How you gonna mix and match that?
Yeah, I wonder. I imagine digital machines make it a lot easier now. Like they probably have a much more higher grade system to like separate that into
The
where it needs to go.
the foiling is a physical property of the metallic layer of
Yeah.
the card, and so they have to have that foiling, which
Yeah.
is like, I mean, they probably going to, but you have to swap it out. You have to get it right.
Maybe. Maybe. Oh.
But I mean, Modern Masters was, I think, the start of a lot of our woes now.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, I think I when I came in, Modern Masters 15 was uh was out or coming out, or it came out or it was out for like a year or something before I started cracking packs of it, because I did crack a couple packs of it, and I think I remember at the time that the packs were a lot cheaper. They were like $10 or something. That set was so interesting because it was the only time they ever did the cardboard packs.
Yeah.
The like
Lesson
pull
learned.
tab cardboard packs where you pulled it down the back and then fold it open the side and pull out the pack. That was so interesting. I don't know why they didn't continue.
Cards
researching
were
that,
getting
but-
damaged in the packs.
Oh, really?
They're shuffled around, and yeah, I think that's what it was. Oh, the resealing of the packs was ridiculous.
Oh, I
Super
bet.
easy.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah. And Modern Masters was needed at the time. Like we needed reprints, and it was not feasible to push them all through standard at the time.
Yeah, and like you said,
So-
Tarmogoyf, it only had 2 printings at this time. What, Future Sight and
And that.
oh yeah. Oh,
In
so
Modern Masters.
this is the only other printing of it, and I imagine that the Future Sight printing, like it was hard to get for a playset of Tarmogoyfs
Yeah.
for everybody. So
Who's gonna put them into the market?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's more people coming to the game than leaving the game at this point.
Mhm.
Way more people coming to the game, and it's not just modern. It's Commander as well, though. There's more. The price is just going up and up and up, and Termagoyf was one of those cards that changed the whole perception of card prices. I think Foster talked about it.
Oh
yeah,
last
week.
he said that was the first one to like really break a $20 ceiling besides like the reserve list stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Where he's like, this is the first time that a card, had no ceiling for its price. Usually everything was stayed like $20 or below, and then all of a sudden Termaglyphs just keeps going up over and over and over and over again. So which I thought was really interesting, especially coming from someone who owned a car store. So he probably knew the prices better than anybody at the time.
Oh yeah, you're usually on top of it, and they were selling online and stuff, so they always knew
Mm,
what things were really going for.
yeah.
The It's like with the amount of people I see kind of leaving the game, it's like, is there a demand for the cards? Oh, and another thing of the prices of cards rising is when COVID happened and everybody was at home. They uh, People were at home. They were spending money on cards. People were scalping. So like Pokemon cards, all of them were getting scalped.
Yep.
The manufacturers go, we want that percentage. So we're just going to raise the price and close out that margin for the scalpers. So there isn't one. And I mean, Hasbro wasn't really, I don't think they were, you'd see the pictures as Magic players, you'd see the pictures of like all the Pokemon cards and sports cards are gone off the shelf, but the only thing left is Magic cards. And it was kind of a joke at the time that nobody wanted to touch Magic, whereas all these other cards are spiking.
Mm,
And then Hasbro, they hit their goal of making doubling their revenue within 5 years before their deadline, and they go, let's do it in half the time. And between other companies raising their prices and the everybody saying that inflation was going to happen, Wizards of the Coast just goes with the wave, and they go, we're going to jack up card prices, and then we're going to also come out with as many expensive products as we possibly can.
mm.
And it um some of the things that hit me the hardest is the professor's videos on like, here's a box of X Master set or collector's Lord of the Rings. With that money, you could buy a Nintendo Switch and 3 games of Pokemon games or whatever. Those ones hit real hard.
Oh yeah, I watched a couple of his box breakdown videos, and they're really interesting. When he gets a box, and doesn't make its value, and he's like, "Here's what you could have bought with this box," and just goes through the list of all the stuff you could buy, and I'm like, "Yep, yep, okay." And I got what out of that box? Maybe $60 worth of cards,
Yeah,
and it's all divided up amongst all these commons and uncommons and dirt rares that are all like a dollar a piece or whatever.
and then it's like I have to take a percentage out to liquidate this stuff to actually get it back.
I gotta take the time and effort to, yeah. So what's it worth after, even if you were to spend the time and effort to try to recuperate a loss?
And when you're not feeling that high of opening certain cards anymore, it's kind of like the utility that you would get from cracking packs from playing that lottery is
Mhm.
almost gone.
Well, I mean, I can't think. Okay, so ever since we've started drafting, I can't think of a time post booster fun projects like these sets post booster fun and all that sort of stuff where I've been cracking boxes, and like we'll draft the box or something like that,
Mhm.
and I go, wow, that was an awesome box, and I had a great time, and I think I made my value so that I can maybe get cards for this deck or whatever. I can put these in my trade binder, get them to other people, and then people will give me cards that I want. Post booster fun, it was like I maybe broke even. I was like, oh, this is a great box because I maybe broke even.
I don't know if I agree with that. Honestly, like I think I remember doing the math or looking into it at one point, and I was like, damn, almost every box in the standard eras is like worth cracking. Like the packs are higher EV than the
Oh, really?
price. Yeah. And I would say when we were down there, you yeah, like even before that, you'd be lucky to break even.
Mm-hmm.
Like before, I can't. I wish I could tell you an exact set, but I remember back in the day, like you just it wasn't there.
Right.
Just the fact that you're cracking packs is part of the experience. That's part of the utility. You're paying for that, man. Like,
Yeah, absolutely.
and now it's you make your money back a little easier.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like as bad as some cards get hit by the those like Fable or what are the new card slots that Necropotence and Prismatic Omens and for Wilds of
Oh, that's like they call it in this set. It's called the Enchanting
the
Tales
Enchanting Tales slot. It
or
yeah,
the
I'm
multiverse. What is it? Multiverse Legendary Legends or whatever from the March of the Machines, and then there's like
Brothers War,
Brothers War had the artifacts. I don't remember what
Mystical
those were called.
Archive cards.
No, those
From
those
are
are Strixhaven.
But
Strixhaven.
those types of things, I actually do. I like those.
Yeah.
I know Rudy's complaining a lot about them, how they're tanking card prices. I mean, we're waiting for the reprint on a lot of these cards, and you know what?
You know
We're
what?
waiting for the rock to drop, and it happened, and
Mhm.
maybe in a little bigger quantity than you wanted. But would you rather have Prismatic Omen in a master set and crack that as your rare, or as an extra card in your standard
That you could
booster pack?
potentially get it at. Yeah.
It's the balancing of that dynamic.
Yeah. And the fact that it takes up like kind of its own slot and it's a self-contained, it's not like the list where you have literally 1,000 of them, 1,000 plus,
Mm-hmm.
and you can, like you have like 4 or 5 good hits across 1,000 cards. We're talking about instead like what 40, 50 cards maybe that are all good reprints that probably need it at the time. So I actually I kind of agree with you in that sentiment where like that kind of slot that they probably started with expeditions there, and then that's kind of turned into this extra as Magic Life says there, the extra print sheet slot,
Mm-hmm.
you know, where they have like a theme of some kind, like Strixhaven's got spells, and we've got the artifacts in Brothers War. I kind of agree with you that I do enjoy that the thematic part of that where they actually inject some of these reprints that need it into this secondary slot that's not really interfering with the set itself.
And yeah, I mean, you see everybody complain about every type of product or every type of card slot and everything like that. Is
And I have to remember it, buddy Eric. He's mentioned this before. He said it over and over again. He's like, if they're printing it and you don't want to buy it, it's just not for you. Just walk, move on to the next one. And I'm like, yep, you're right. I can't complain because it's probably not meant for me.
Mhm.
Like they're not every product's gonna be a home run for everybody. So
no, and that you start to see this split in demographics where I remember Wizards would always tout out this like we have 3 demographics: Jimmy or Spike, Johnny, Timmy.
yeah.
And I don't even know if people even really know that anymore.
Oh,
That they used
no.
to say that. Now it's a joke because it's way more specified now. You have, I mean, you have the EDH player broken down into multiple demographics. Honestly, a lot of the EDH players shouldn't even. There should be an alternative option for the EDH player. They don't truly want to play EDH. If you look into like game design, they just do it because it's a more casual version of Magic the Gathering, where a lot of those people used to just play competitive, like 60 card formats, because that was the only actual viable option. Uh,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I find it hard to play EDH sometimes, especially it's more difficult to play with people you never played before too, because you don't really have a good way to regulate what your power levels are, especially in EDH where it's like you have no clue what you're going up against.
specific.
No comprehension of the difference. So you could just end up going against people who are running your power level 10 CDH decks, and I don't know, the format just doesn't seem to check itself as well, especially for competitive versus casual players.
That's almost like putting up a competitive player versus a person who wants to build their own deck, a net decker versus a creative person who wants to build their own deck.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of that dynamic you're seeing right in that situation. Whereas I'm saying there's a lot of EDH players who do not want to be playing against each other. They want to be playing against the game.
Yeah.
And uh there's been a few items that have kind of leveraged them in that way, but it's hard to convince them to change from the format that they're playing.
Yeah, you know what? Now that I think about it, I've had friends over recently to play Commander, and every time they want to play Planes Chase or get some extra layer involved in the game,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like they're more interested in fighting against the game and just having an extended, long, drawn out game than actually fighting against each other. You know,
Absolutely.
we're not here to just turn off, combo off and fight each other for a minute and then go on to the next game. It's like we're gonna have a war, a slaughtering war.
I want as many things on the battlefield
Oh
as
yeah,
physically possible, to the point where it's not. It is also that point, like, turn the switch and go, all right, this is the optimal play from here on out.
yeah,
This is not realistic.
yeah, yeah. Well, so should we jump back into our year in modern here and keep moving?
Talking about modern, going into
Jumping all the way.
demographic breakdowns of Commander.
So we went through Gate Crash, and then we got Grand Prix San Diego, March 3rd, 2013.
Did we? We didn't. I mean,
Yeah, we did.
We did touch on some stuff.
Very briefly. We got into it. We shock reprint. That's how we got started.
Boros Charm,
Borborygmus and Raid. Oh,
Yeah.
that was like, yeah.
Skull
Boros-
Crack saw some play. Undercity Informant, and I don't know how to say this card.
Gauss Dread Spy.
Yeah, those cards are a real deal.
Yeah.
Thespian Sage didn't get played in Modern, really, but it's always back there. Like, it's always waiting to rear its ugly head.
Right.
I mean, are there any other big ones on this list for you?
Gore Clan Rampager is actually I played that quite a bit when I started playing.
Yeah.
Pretty often in Death Shadow. Like that was at least a one of. You just honestly always hated that card. Everyone played it in the list as a one of, and it worked out sometimes. But
Oh yeah, and okay, I
the Blood
remember
Rush
that now.
dude.
Yes.
Yeah.
This reminds me of, like, just picking up a deck and playing it over and over again. There was a guy, I think his name was Tim. He came to FNM. He's an old time player, and he's just like, I'm just gonna play this red green deck, aggro deck with Burning Tree Emissaries, experiment ones. There are newer cards that are very similar cards of that, Vexing Devil type of thing,
Yeah.
and he's kept going 3-1-4-0 very consistently. It's a completely off meta deck. It's not like he was like attacking the meta in a very cool and unique way. No, he just kept playing this deck.
Yeah.
Got better at it, learned the other decks, and just played. And
Yeah.
he did well. It just, a lot of times you get caught up in the like percentages, and that guy just kind of, it reminds me of him and going, that's not really how this plays out.
Mm-hmm. Someone who always reminds me of that is Troy, too.
Oh yeah,
Troy makes me think of that because he always plays very off meta things. So.
a lot of fun decks.
Oh yeah.
So here's another Grand Prix.
Sunny Side Up is our top deck at this Grand Prix San Diego.
Oof.
Playing 2 of Twin Cast.
Which is interesting.
Yeah. Otherwise pretty standard. Faith's Reward, Second Sunrise, all that good stuff.
I didn't never recalled them playing Twin Cast. Let's see this. Okay, here's the like America control list. Playing Sphinx's Rebs. I mean, this is very close to Sean McLaren's
It's
list.
got 2 Ajani Vengeance main board, which, a Planeswalker that has those abilities nowadays would never do anything. But this just is such a cool card to see in this deck list. I even remember they played it a little bit when I started playing still.
This was definitely, back then, was in like the ranking of like top 5 Planeswalkers ever.
Oh, yeah. I bet. It's really good.
Tectonic Edge was the wasteland of the format at the time.
4 Celestial Colonnades.
Yeah, pretty classic list. They're making a huge mistake by only running 3 Snapcaster Mages, but we'll let it go because they got second in a Grand Prix. And Eric Froelich playing Jun. This is after the Blood Braid, so they kind of replace it with, Thunder Maul Hellkite.
they're running 3 Ajani Vengeance.
And holy
Interesting.
shit, yeah.
Oh, this is like splicing in paths too, main board.
Hmm.
So this is splashing white quite a bit here.
I knew a lot of good players that were always very outspoken about they were against Path to Exile and Jund decks. They're like, you're 2-for-1ing yourself. You're 2-for-1ing yourself.
Right, because you're in the more mid-rangey build. Next we have Scape Shift in 4th.
This is very similar.
Mhm.
Scape shift list, affinity.
Vault Scourge. Yeah, this is pretty much the same as what we've seen the last couple of years, like since the beginning of Modern. Not very much changed. Now they're running the Gal Blast and the Thoughtcast together.
Mhm.
So this is kind of the final form of this deck, almost completely. Like up until the point that even I played it later, I don't think this changed hardly at all.
When I think back of like the modern format, it's not like with those rose-colored glasses. It is this. It's blue-red control, Jund, Scape Shift, Affinity, Splitter Twin, Birthing Pod. Like
Zoo. Yeah.
not even
rock.
Zoo for me. It kind of got nuked to Jund. But like those decks redefine the format. And Infect too, but it hasn't really showed up since it got a lot of bannings, like that very combo based Zoo or Infect deck.
Mm-hmm. Here we see a Zoo deck. They're playing Loxodon Smiters, which is
It's Brian Kibler.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's a holdout. He wanted to keep playing these cards.
Oh yeah. Sure.
This is just a bunch of good cards
Guys
piled into.
Yeah, this is like some America.
It's a tribal flames deck.
I see. Yep, 4-color tribal flames.
And then Adoran. It's just another version of Jund deck.
Sure.
They were trying to figure out what we're gonna do without Bloodbraid Elf. Classic.
So then we had Dragon's Maze on May 3rd.
This was a stinker of a set.
Yeah.
I remember the only card anybody wanted was Voice of Resurgence, and people would open Voice of Resurgence, and I would go, "How many booster packs of Dragon's Maze would you like for that for that Voice of Resurgence?" And then I had one person crack 3 Voice of Resurgence off of the packs, and I was like netting constantly.
Oh really?
This. Oh yeah.
Oh my
and
goodness.
And then eventually they ran out. The pack game lost, and the person immediately after it happened, they went, "I regret my decision completely."
Because they had nothing. Yeah.
There's some cards like little niche cards like Hidden Strings in one deck. Wear Tear's a real card.
Verils with Death Shadow actually has some interactions with the scavenge effect.
I remember playing Virals right away in like a Malira pod deck, like as a one of. Just as another interesting sack outlet. And then like that scavenging played into the whole incremental advantage of like scavenge onto a dude and get the use out of him after he's dead.
Yep. Oh, Wear Tear was in the set. That's really, really good one. Always been a great card to this day.
To this day. Another Grand Prix. Grand Prix Portland. Okay, Sam Pardee. Our man, we were just talking about him. I think he did pretty well on Magic Online with this deck, and then he started on the Grand Prix circuit, and I don't know if he just keeps crushing them like he did here, but he's always consistent top 8s and things like to that extent. I mean, other than the second Malira, which isn't that crazy, this is a pretty stock list. Like, he's starting to really push it into its final form.
Yep.
Lingering Souls is pretty interesting. I don't think I ever ran a list with Lingering Souls.
This is the only deck list I could find that was running Cartel Aristocrat in the top 8s of these tournaments, I think.
Yeah, that was another.
Which
that was kind of
cool.
But
that's an interesting card.
Around this time, Channel Fireball. So Sam Pardee starts to play with Channel Fireball. He starts to get in with those guys when he starts performing well. And Sam Black makes. I give him most of the credit, but I'm sure a bunch of other guys were involved. The Aristocrats deck, and that it was a standard deck that evolved around Cartel Aristocrat sacking and doing all these like little incremental advantage types of plays.
Yeah.
And so maybe Sam Black and influenced Sam Party on that.
Mm-hmm.
Scape shift list, Obstinate Baloth, which is very interesting.
Yeah.
This is kind of an
Titanscape shift
earlier
is.
version of Primeval Titan.
Yep.
Those
Which
decks dropped off quite a bit.
Titan, Scapeshift, and Valakut have always kind of rotated around each other in some way or shape or form. Like I've definitely seen a lot of Prime Titan and Scapeshift together in the same deck.
Yeah. I'm sure these are pretty similar. Let's drop down to Matt Nass. So Matt Nass is uh pretty I
Pretty
consider
renowned.
he's a renowned player.
Oh,
He plays a lot of combo decks. He put KCI on the map.
yes.
He almost forced it upon people. Here he is doing well with Birthing Pod, so maybe Sam Party is already interacting with the Channel Fireball guys. I would be a betting man on this one because it's the exact same list as Sam Party.
Yep. Almost down to the guard, pretty much.
Paul Riesel was an old pro. I don't think he's around much anymore, but he always played like White Weenie type of decks, very aggressive decks.
Mm-hmm.
And then America mid range with the Geist of Saint Traps. It's even
Grim Lava Master.
chopping down on those. Let's see here. What did Burn look like in this day and age, if anything at all? I feel it needed Skewer the Critics from Ravnica Allegiance. I mean, Burn has always existed, but people were constantly playing Lightning Helixes and decks that could win on turn 4.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
absolutely. I think that a lot of what set Burn is a very strong deck. Some of it probably was Inspiring Vantage coming out in Kaladesh way later to get the fast lands in the deck. And then also, like around this time, probably would have been pretty close to when the deck starts to emerge. Because I think in one of these tournaments later this year, we see like a red deck wins, one get really close. But that's like post cons when, I'm sorry. That probably is what did it as Monastery Swiftspear.
That's a bit. Oh yeah. That's a huge one.
Yeah, because Goblin Guide existed at this time.
Eidolon is another.
Eidolon of the Great Rivals. Yep, yep, that's huge. But otherwise, like Bolt, Lightning Helix, Skullcrack, Boros Charm all existed at this time.
But Burn can't compete in a format where half the top 8 is playing. Well, it's not half, but it's like
they have the Snapcaster.
Lightning Helix, Snap Lightning Helix. You're out of the game, and they're either playing the America Control list that has this in the main deck, good counter magic in the main deck, and then good sideboard answers against you in the sideboard, or you're playing against Twin that's just going to twin you out, or you're playing Pod main deck Kitchen Finks that it can gain infinite life, infinitely loot those. Not only is Kitchen Finks a life gain, just gaining more life against Burn is just stalling out the game. You have to have a threat to kill them, and Kitchen Finks was both of those angles.
Every 3 life is another card they need to cast.
So like Burn did exist. They're playing like Flame of Blood Hand instead of Skullcrack, and Skullcrack pushed that out. And then Magma Jet and Sudden Shock. They were playing these really subpar cards in that main deck. I don't think even with Skewer the Critics it would have performed as good against this.
Yeah, I even mentioned Lightning Strike. I think in one of the sets we have this year, year too.
Oh, I cut that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think that even really did anything probably to it at the time because Bolt existed already, and it's like if you're just playing Bolt, just play Bolt. So
if you're playing Bolts that hard, you're going into Lightning Helix.
Yeah.
So now, I mean, Burn plays Lightning Helix, but it would have been pushed out because of Lightning Helix.
Right.
May.
We had a second Sunrise finally got banned.
Good riddance on a.
Yeah, I mean, is Faith's Reward still legal right at this time? So
yeah,
but the deck is far less consistent now, I guess.
I open the vaults. Let's look that guy up here. When does that come out? So the first printing of that is in M10. So it already existed.
Oh,
And so people switched over to that, but it's just too expensive.
yeah.
And people knew what you're doing at this point.
Right.
You weren't gonna get away with it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know many people who were that upset with Second Sunrise. It goes back to the like, oh, I bought this deck and now I'm out all this money. It's like,
Hmm.
no, like people knew it was coming. It had to happen, and it's just if you didn't see the writing on the wall, it's kind of like you're lost, dude.
Yeah.
And you're playing something that degenerate. You have to know you're not a new casual player off the street going, yeah, let me play this. Let me play Legacy Artificer's Intuition. Where have we ever played that game where I hand you the deck list and I go, tell me why every single card is in this deck?
Yeah.
Have we done that before? I've done it with other people.
Oh yeah, yeah. We've done that before.
I think if I did it right now, I couldn't even really. It'd take me a while to remember.
Mm.
Like there's like Lion's Eye Diamonds is the card that it catches everybody up. But yeah, Second Sunrise is one of those decks where it's like no random person's gonna pick that deck up and just go.
Yeah.
You have to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
Is this a Grand Prix that we just clicked on? Kansas City?
No, not yet. We haven't been to this.
No. Okay, so Seth Manfield. This is like one of the first times I see him come across the screen.
Mm-hmm.
Very respectable player.
And this is the exact same list as the ones we saw in the last GP.
Mhm.
Almost card for card to the sideboard, besides the sideboard. But
Oh, so this Joe, this Living End player, he goes to the Pro Tour this year and he plays this deck, Living End.
oh really?
Uh-huh. So it's still got all these subpower
Mhm.
cycling creatures and
Funny Avalanche Riders.
that's old tech, yeah.
Yeah.
Fulminator Mage and Avalanche Riders in the main deck.
Mm-hmm.
That was a core part of their strategy is trying to just stall you out with those and then get them back off of the Living End and just completely Armageddon you.
Oh yeah. And still playing 4 Violent Outbursts to this day. I mean, that card's.
Oh, sorry.
That was the
yeah, that one. The fact
Outburst.
that one's instant speed and it's unconditional, like you don't have to have a target.
Yeah.
Pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Pretty brutal.
Yeah.
Twin. This is a hardcore twin list. You're running boomerangs and just 3 dispels. Like, what
They're
happened
trying
to
to
this
go
guy?
off.
I played boomerang. I played a boomerang in my twin list, but never this hard. Maybe I played 4. I don't know. Because I'd boomerang their land.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Set 'em
slow
back.
them down.
Yeah.
Tempo them out a little bit.
The good old days when I'd screw around with things like that. Me and my friend Mason, we'd come up with shenanigans, a little spice for decks.
Oh yeah.
Scape shift list, yeah,
Yep.
that is a scape shift list right there.
3 Prismatic Omens, 4 Titans.
American Control at its finest.
Mm-hmm.
3 Lightning Bolts is a shame against. This is a
4
sin.
Electrolyzes though.
Oh my god! Wow. No 1/1s were safe.
4 Cryptics, 4 Electrolyzes.
Who is that guy? Oh, that was Brandon Nelson. Is that Brad Nelson? This Channel Fire or the
Brandon
Star
Nelson.
City Game player?
I don't know.
Wow, I wouldn't expect him to play that list. That looked questionable at the time, even for the time. Birthing Pod, Ari Lax.
This one's Kiki Jiki, running a Kiki Jiki combo instead of the
Mhm.
typical Kitchen Finks Malira pod.
Playing Domri Raid. I was actually wondering, I was like, did people really play that at like high level, or am I just like remembering some casuals playing it?
Nope, it's a 3-drop Planeswalker.
So, that we didn't have a lot at the time.
Oh yeah, it was just Liliana, Domri. Who else was 3 at the time? I think that's it.
Yeah, Tibble that too, which was
Oh.
garbage. I think you're right. I think those were like the 2.
Deathrite Shaman's more of a Planeswalker than Tibble is.
That's the truth. This was Sean McLaren did pretty well. I think in another pro tour with a list like this with Kiki Resto, in an American control list. And then here's your red deck wins.
Yep.
Running Deathrite Shaman. Grim Lavamancer, how did it get played? Vexing
For Vexing Devil. Okay. Yeah, so Vexing Devil's a really good one for Burn at the time, or this version of Burn, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Which I remember players always laughing at it. It's like there's so many bolts in the format running around that you let it live and you bolt it.
Yeah.
Don't be that afraid. You're lining up your answer, like you're lining up your cards with their cards. Whereas if you just take the 4, it doesn't line up as well. Like you have to think of almost every card in your deck or every one of your spells as a conditional card against burn. And it's just like a lot of the conditions don't line up.
Yep.
And in this one chance, you do get to line it up. So you take that option.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why I always thought it was weird that people kind of turned down Vexing Devil as not that big of a deal. Mm-hmm. But it's like when you are going for that, the interaction is that card to card where you're trying to always gain the incremental advantage, not taking the damage, forcing them to spend their turn during the Vexing Devil, and then just getting it out of the way is so simple and easy.
Magic 14 did not give us a lot. This was
Scavenging
there's some
Ooze. Scavenging Ooze and Young Peasy. That's Young Pyromancer. Those are the two big ones that I could think of.
Yeah, right. Archangel was a one of. Elvish Mystic had replacements. Lifebane Zombie blew everybody's mind that Lifebane Zombie wasn't like a modern staple.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's the black V click. It was insane in standard.
Yeah.
And even to this day, I read it and I was like, "Damn, that's a good."
I don't even know what it does. I'm gonna be honest.
Any color black zombie something. 3/1 with Intimidate.
Okay.
When it enters the battlefield, look at your opponent's hand, exile black green or white creature card from their hand.
Oh, I guess the bad part about it is it's conditional and doesn't rip any card.
Mm-hmm. It was part of a hate cycle, but it was very good.
Yeah.
Young Pyromancer and Scavenging Ooze are top
format
players.
Shapers.
Yeah.
Like format shaping cards for sure.
Young Pyromancer probably sees some amount of play. Well, it got pushed out, but it would get some amount of play if it wasn't for Orcish Bowmasters just murking it. Another Grand Prix. Holy crap, Jund all over.
4 Jund deck lists in a row.
And then there's the rock underneath.
There's 2 rock.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let me look at this list. Yeah, this is when they realized that they had to ban Deathrite Shaman. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was wondering when this came up of when people were questioning whether or not they needed the red. I knew it was after Blood Parade went out and they went like, why aren't we just playing black green rock?
Yep.
Even like Reed Duke's playing the dreaded deck here,
which
he's pretty known for. He's claimed
Jund
player.
Yeah, he's played Jund a lot, especially the birth of this format.
I've got 4 unlimited lightning bolts signed by Reed Duke.
Yep.
And his Jund Day honors.
I'm glad we thought that one up. That was a really good. It was super cool to see him in person.
Yeah.
And to get to shake his hand. So.
Matty B's got a picture with him.
Oh really? Yeah.
Brian Kibler. Ben Stark running back Jund is like all of the pros knew what the hotness was at the time.
Right.
Fulminator Mage Bane deck. Willie Idol. I can't spell it. Say it. Desecration Demon. Maybe not the best choice. 4 Skoozes.
It's pretty funny.
Skooz was a maniac in Legacy. Like Maverick was pretty good at the time, and then this card came out and is just like in a commander deck, $40 card, which was weird.
Yeah.
That and Flusterstorm. Those 2 cards were like, whoa.
Yeah.
These cards out of a weird pre-con straight to Legacy disrupt Legacy.
Yeah.
So, I guess Scavenging Ooze is one of those cards that, I mean, that was the start of straight to Legacy, straight to Modern, Scavenging Ooze, Flusterstorm. They didn't destroy Legacy in any fashion. True Name Nemesis, like a year later or something, maybe 2 years later, that one was a big disrupting factor.
Oh
That one went,
yeah.
uh oh.
Well, that's because then you had to counter it with like council's judgment and stuff like that, or you had to find a way to get around it somehow.
You had to out race it
Yes. Yeah.
somehow.
Yeah.
It Scavenging was completely cool card. Everybody, I was very happy with it in the format. Malirapod players probably weren't as happy. And then
I definitely think that it's fair. I think it's a great card. I've always enjoyed playing with it and against it. Like I'm always been like, okay, now it becomes a mini game of like how do I interact with the Scoos to get rid of it, or like how do I keep my Scoos pumped up because I know it's a really strong hate piece, but it's also an insane body if you keep it around long enough.
that life gains relevant.
Oh, it's all of it's relevant. Like the counter, you have such cool interactions where like a creature you can kill a creature in advance before someone bolts your Scoo, so you can put a counter on it and keep it from dying or whatever.
Uh,
I've had cool, sweet interactions with Scoos.
if you go back and watch that Born of the Gods, Sam Part, or I'm sorry, it's the thumbnail match, the match that we use for the thumbnail. Sean McLaren versus Patrick Dickman.
Yeah.
Dickman holds his scavenging oozes because he's not going to play him into a bolt. Like I really miss those types of plays where it's like I can't play this card right now because I know you have the answer and there's a way where I can get around it. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to wait 3 turns, then play it, and then you can't respawn because you know what's going to happen here.
I'm just going to pump it up. Blown out. Yeah.
So it's this respect between the players almost of like, you know what I'm going to do. I know what I'm going to do. It just
yeah.
The chess game seemed cooler back then.
You're not against the opponent with 4 cards in hand, and you're just like, oh my god, I have no clue what's going to happen. It's like you're more focused on the incremental advantage because you know that each of you're gonna interact somehow. Mm-hmm. Like there's going to be a trade off, and you have to figure out whether the value of that trade off is worth more for you winning the game or not. Like
yeah.
Some of those small decisions can make or lose a game easily.
We used to play a game going to tournaments where it's like someone would name a land and then they pass and it was go, all right, go. What's their plays? What's the tree branch out?
Oh, like? Sure. So
your opponent plays a Scalding turn 1 and passes. What are they on? And questions like that. Now it's like, no, you don't. You just go grief you, or you know the immediate answer. Which back then it was kind of like you almost should have some idea of the immediate answer.
But I get what you mean. The format was so structured that like you had a better idea of what kind of archetypes you could be facing and what was strong enough to provide a competitive interaction.
There's more mystery. I guess there's more mystery about it back then. You didn't need to go as fast.
Yeah.
Whereas like now you know what deck they're playing almost immediately because it's Omnath. They're fetching out a Triumph or they're Prismatic Ending your thing, and that's almost one deck at this point. Scam. You're gonna know. Right. The Rhinos is like they don't really have a turn 1 play. They fetch to get their Triumph, and it's a very specific one. They play specific fetch lands for their mana base, whereas the Omnath one's way more varied.
You kind of know right away. Pretty much, you could still figure out nowadays what it would be right away, but it's changed now from like fetch land or land go or land dork go or something like that to fetch Triumph or it'll be an Amulet Titan or Amulet or Tron land. It's like literally one of those 3. It feels like fetch Triumph, Tron land, or bounce land.
I guess we do see Titan. This interaction with Orcish Bowmasters now because it's like, okay, I'm gonna still play my Dragon Rage Chandler, but I can't play it on turn 1 when I'm on the draw because you're just gonna Orcish Bowmaster it now, and so you have that highbrow level playing with Orcish Bowmaster. Is it like? But now the decks are just warping around. It's like, why the fuck would I play that card when I just can play something else and not have to ever worry about that interaction?
Right. Yeah.
Um, yeah, Scavenging Ooze, fun card.
Definitely.
Who would have
I
thought?
love Scavenging Goose.
Oh, that was in the Grand Prix. Theros. The Skrylands, I added those. Those pop up a little bit, especially the blue green one.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, Temple of Mystery. Yep.
yeah. Then there's the Ignasium deck played them like originally
Yes.
played
Yeah.
like almost 8, something crazy.
Yeah. Just to get the card advantage as much as physically possible.
Masterways, Blue Moon. We see that in the Pro Tour. A lot of these are just like
Anger of the Gods.
That's a real
awesome
card.
sideboard card.
Mhm.
Heroes Downfall. I'm pretty sure that's a little bit of play in like Rock and stuff like that too.
Yeah.
Hexus made the that helped make the Lantern control deck a lot better.
Yeah, that's a card. That's the thing with most of these is just they're kind of cards.
Yeah.
But then we hit
Thoughtseize reprint and Theros.
And this is the whole reason we don't see good cards get reprinted in standard.
In standard, yeah.
The whole format warped around it. Mono Black was the best deck. It was like your turn sequence was kind of like John, where you go Thoughtseize on one, and then you played Pack Rat and you rode the back of Pack Rat. That's how bad I like the mono blue deck. It's when that's a standard play, like good play pattern. I don't get that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chandler Rocks. I added that.
That's actually, I'm considering that for a sideboard tomorrow night for a different deck list. So still seeing a little bit of play.
Saucy.
I don't know.
Let's go to this Grand Prix.
Brisbane.
Ooh, Affinity took her.
Affinity took her at first place. Pretty standard list.
Junk, which would be Abzan now. Still rocking the Death Ray Shaman. I like this list.
One Phyrexian Arena main board. It's pretty interesting.
Not so big of a fan of that. I don't know why, but it's a cool list. Good list. Solid list. Yeah, Glenalendra Archmage getting played.
One of main board. This is focused on the Kiki Jiki combo. There's no Moira Pod in here.
This deck attacks the America control list a lot with the Glenalendra, the Voice of Resurgence.
Yeah. It's a Staticaster too.
Oh, really?
Voice of Resurgence.
Voice of Resurgence finally can start getting played. That evolves the pod deck.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably one of the first cards in the birthing pod deck where it's like, okay, some of these creatures are getting better in this deck, and it wasn't until Siege Rhino where they're like, okay, cut the cord, kill pod. But I bet in retrospect, WotC was having some conversations about like, okay, Voice of Resurgence, this is relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Voices, I love that card. I definitely played a lot of Voice of Resurgence. That card's awesome.
It's sad that it's not in Modern anymore.
I know. It's very strong. I think it's a unique interaction where you force your opponent to pay attention to what's going on, because like it is a direct stab against when like it supports the combo type build, where you can sit behind this voice and be like, okay, you can counter my stuff, but I'm gonna get some dudes out of it and you're gonna die.
It's gonna be a hell of a clock too.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't got long. I see people like go across these and trade binders, and they're like worthless now. And I've heard it from a lot of people. They go, man, I missed this card. Like really, they express that for this card.
Yeah.
It was weird that we never really saw it in junk build, Abzan builds.
Yeah.
Tron, we kind of haven't seen that in a while.
Okay. Yeah, it's been a couple years, or a year at this point since it's shown up at the top 8 list in a Grand Prix.
Emrakul, Wormcoil Engine.
Ergosm, nothing new.
That's the deck, man.
Yeah, it's been standard stone for quite a while.
Relics those came and went.
Yes.
This is the deck. And then
Antwerp in October, later that October.
Antwerp. Get rid of some of these. Patrick. Okay, I don't know if I've fanboyed about Patrick Dickman yet, but
Mhm.
big fan. Big fan.
He plays a lot of Twin Exarch.
My friend Alex and I were like, he's the godfather of twins. He, my first Grand Prix, I think it's the next year in 2014. We saw him, and he's like, Patrick Dickman is over there, and I was like, dude, do I get my twins signed? And I regret not getting them signed because it's such
Yeah.
a fun memory looking back at it.
Yeah.
And we always like in the pro tour, he goes snapcast image, talking since the lightning bolt. We repeat that over and over again.
Stop
And-
and
Alex was playing pot at that Grand Prix,
yeah.
but I was playing American Control, and he's like, I bet you won't do it to your opponent. And I was like, bullshit. And I'd go, lightning bolt. Targeting the net of the reliquary. Because he in that top 8 or in all of his matches, he's very expressive of like, here's my play, and he announces and I think he's German.
Yeah.
So he has a really strong accent.
Right.
And it's just so much fun to listen to him say lightning bolt. So that's another. I need to get lightning bolt signed by that guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just
Patrick Dick.
think he's a really good player. I miss seeing him at the top tables, huh?
Yeah.
Yep. Grim Lavamancer, V-Clicks.
Yep. Two Cryptics.
Two
One Dispel, Lightning Bolts, Peaks, Remans, Serum Visions.
I think he probably would be playing more remans. I bet it. We need to look up the Pro Tour list here, but I bet he's running 4 remans because those remand my own spell to counteract your spell
Yeah.
was a critical play.
Like being able to bounce a combo piece back in response to removal or something like that.
Yeah, or like they're gonna they're gonna cryptic my Snapcaster Mage.
Yeah.
You remand that Snapcaster Mage back to your hand. You're not down any cards, but you just counter their 2 for 1.
Mhm.
Because now there's no legal target for the cryptic command, and it fizzles, and they don't draw the card.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Remand is definitely like one of the most versatile counter spells out there. I love that card's always been awesome.
I did not appreciate Vendilion Click as much as I do now.
I that card is sweet. That card I have just such a weird affinity with it because I never really played it that much, but I've had it played against me a lot. In the times I have played it, it's sweet. It's just so cool.
I'm sitting here. I'm like, oh, this isn't actually too badly positioned. I was like, I can play Vendilion Click in Modern. Orcish Bowmasters get fucked.
You thought it's got 1 toughness. Get fucked. Did you see there was a list this latest challenge that's running Magmatic Channelers because it's a 1/3 wizard so that they can cast Flame of Ondor using 2 modes.
Don't tell all our viewers you're gonna know what I'm gonna play tomorrow.
Oh shit!
I don't know if I don't think I'm even gonna be able to play, but
Yeah.
I saw that list and I went, let's bookmark this bad boy.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet list.
A little spicy. John rocking the Death Rate Shamans for one of the last times it possibly can. Living in Affinity.
In fact,
Let's see the Infect because we haven't seen one like all of this year. And it's running stings or plague stingers.
which disappeared for quite a while.
Mm-hmm. So this is a 3-color build.
Oh, interesting. Okay, they're just playing more infect creatures than the deck does now.
Yeah, and when it really settled down, it only ran Glistener Elf, Blighted Agent, Inkmoth Nexus, and maybe one of the Viridian Disruptors or something. It's
I have no clue.
one any color, green, infect 2/2, and like when it enters the battlefield, you could destroy an artifact or enchantment, something to that effect. And in fact, it should be in his sideboard, but it isn't.
There's a different one, a black infect creature that I know saw play more recently. what was that one? That it was a black infect creature. I think it had protection or from something maybe.
Oh, I didn't even have this up. Big oof.
Oh,
Most people just listen to this podcast anyways. As they should. Let's look up.
Pro Tour Born the Gods.
Funny how it comes right up.
Wow.
Wow. Okay. First place. Let's get this back on the screen. Boom. First place, Sean McLaren. Rocking my Celestial Colonnades, Snapcaster Mages, Vidilian Click, a main deck Anger. Yeah,
3
dude.
Cryptics, 3 Electrolyzes.
This is like almost the exact list that I played the first few years of Modern.
This is great. I would love to play this deck list. If I could shuffle up and sleeve the 60 card tomorrow and play it at FNM, I'd be so happy, honestly. This just seems like so much fun.
I played one less Tectonic Edge, one more Arid Mesa. I did not play the Anger Gods. I played one more Cryptic Command. I played one less Electrolyze, one more Path to Exile. I only played one Ajani, and so there had to have been one other card difference.
Probably one more Wind Constant kind, like a Sphinx Rev maybe.
No. It was
V-Click?
2 Sphinxes Revs.
You got 1 V-Click.
It might have been 2 V-Clicks. But yeah, I kind of want to go back and build this deck for FNM and just get my ass handed to me.
I don't think you do awful. I'm not gonna lie.
Rhinos would just stomp my ass.
Oh, that's true. Rhinos.
I guess like Mana Leak isn't too bad in Remand.
Well, Mana Leak, you could replace that now with this counter spell. But...
That's not the point of this answer.
I know.
Yeah, sideboard is pretty crazy. I never had the Crucible of the Worlds. I had to wait years for that reprint.
Yep. The E-card used to be really expensive.
Oh, Logic Knot. I was playing Logic Knot instead of that Ajani.
Nice.
Second Ajani. Jacob Wilson. I was going to say he did really good at the Pro Tour. Oh, yeah, of course. I'm dumb. I think he hooked up with the Channel Fireball guys. And, yep, here we go. This is practically the list. Yep. Voice of Resurgence, 1 Viscera Seer, 1 Malira,
1 Scooz.
I think this is the first birthing Podless I ever built.
1 Ewit. So that's pretty sweet.
For the Kitchen Finks. Here's my boy Patrick Dickman. This was the creation of Turmo Twin. They showed this off at the Pro Tour.
4 remints.
Oh yeah. Gitaxian probes instead of the peaks.
Interesting.
Why? To pop the Goyf. Otherwise, he probably would be playing the peaks still.
That's spicy that he's running Tarmogoyf.
Here, I'm really surprised he's not running 4 Pestermites, 2 Deceiver Exarchs.
Why? The difference?
Pressure. Kills him twice. It kills twice as fast.
Oh.
Like, yeah, he's got the combo in this deck, but he's running Termagoyfs. He's running off of 2 angles, and the combo really isn't the end-all, be-all. It's to scare the shit out of you.
Yeah.
And kill you while you're afraid.
Mm-hmm.
And so the Pestermite kills you while you're afraid way better than a Deceiver Exarch.
Right.
Back when it was like Grixis Twin, after Kolaghan's command came out and Tasigur came out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, me and my friend Mason, we were playing two Deceiver Exarchs, 4 Pestermites for that exact reason. I'm just scaring you to death of the Splitter Twin combo.
Yeah.
This is just a straight red-blue Splitter Twin.
Yep. No Tarmogoyfs here.
Mm-hmm. I like that list too. I think I played a very similar list. I didn't play much Turmo Twin. People figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
But this list, I played this for a pretty good amount of time. I'm curious of when I did make that swap from America Control to a Blue Moon, another deck that was just like, here's a new deck. Nobody really had played this combination of cards.
Two Master of the Waves, huh?
Yeah, it's kind of a weird one.
You know what's funny? At this point, all the pieces exist for prime time, but that deck hasn't come together yet.
Prime time is an Amulet Titan.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they all exist,
I'm yeah.
but they just haven't come together.
You have Primeval Titan, Amulet of Vigor,
Teleria West, the Bounce Lands,
the Bounce Lands,
all the ramp stuff is there.
Yeah.
Search for Tomorrow.
Valakut, the hasty ones, the haste
Sunhome.
double. Yep,
Yep.
Sunhome. There was another card I was just like, the Pact,
Mhm. It was Zusa.
and then you had Summer Bloom.
Yep.
Still
Yeah,
before it got banned,
yeah, yeah.
so people could just be smoking everybody with this.
It didn't exist at the time.
And if you really were afraid of America Control List, you could put, or like all of the control, the counter spells, you could be playing. You had Cavern of Souls.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Did you see this? Two Vindalcan Shackles.
Fuck yeah, dude. I played a deck with 4 Vindalcan Shackles.
Blue Moon.
Bluelicious.
Yep.
No red.
Yep.
No red.
No red. I see.
That was a good old. I was playing gut shots. But it was 4 Cryptics, 4 Vindalcan Shackles, probably some threads. I don't remember the whole list.
Yeah.
Serum Visions, Vapor
Now,
Snags.
here's a
Remands.
real question. I think
Snapcaster.
Blood, like a Blue Moon deck, could actually probably work in today's format.
Right now, yeah.
Yeah. I think because
Spreading Seas.
yeah, playing Spreading Season and Blood Moon, just being able to take down people's lands.
If they play Plains, you Spreading Seas the Plains, you Blood Moon, they're done.
Yes. Yeah.
They're locked out.
Yeah.
Well, except for all their free spells. But that'll only get them so much time.
I know, but like the land hate on that just seems very strong right now in this format, especially.
So they could cast Fury off of that and Lightning Bolt. But other than
Sure, they can attack your life total. What are you gonna do? You're gonna bolt their thing, or
yeah,
you know, you have counter spell in that regard, and then if you need it, even you can get to like you can go all the way down to like suspend for temporary removal.
against the other Murktide list and Scram, it's a liability though.
That's true.
You're not getting any margins off of that.
That's true.
Yeah. It
Well,
is good against 4 color.
I'm just thinking of options that come off the top of my head, but yeah, Blue Moon, you know.
Oh, maybe Spreading Seas needs to get a second look.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
A Resto Kiki list.
Patriot Twin.
My friend Wes was super high on this list, or on this like kind of version of the deck. I always gave him so much shit, and I would crush him every time we'd play.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you're watching, Wes.
4 Resto, 4 Wall of Omens.
He tried to make Village Bellringer work in this deck. He's like, I don't have Pester Mites, so I want to cut it. Play those.
That's funny.
I just, it's weird because I played American Control. I leaned on my Path to Exiles a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it was just a big learning thing for me as a player. Is like when I moved to Blue Red Twin, I just like got over that crutch. It was like a crutch. It's a bad crutch to lean on because it's benefiting my opponent in most of those transactions.
Right.
And then we got Storm. Yeah, nothing too crazy with the Storm list.
They're running Faithless Lootings.
Faithless, Gitaxian Probe still floating around. Took Gitaxian Probe years to fucking get banned because it took years for Death Shadow to become something. Which, I mean, let's look at this metagame. Nothing's really pushing it out. You had the 2 mana cycle, or what's it called? or two life cycler.
Street Wraith.
Street Wraith, you had Gitaxian Probe, you had a lot of the good tempo cards and the Grixis builds.
Mm-hmm.
You had Death Shadow, the main mainstay. You had, I mean, you probably play Snapcasters to some extent.
Yep. Snaps, and then later you get fatal pushes. You still have thought seizes to reduce your life total.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely.
So,
Forgetting one of the biggest.
lightning bolts. Bolt snap is definitely something I've done in Death Shadow.
And that's another one of those scavenging news in Orcish Bowmasters kind of situations where it's like, yeah, you're not playing this one drop on turn one.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
You guys, someone messaged in the
oh yeah.
chat there.
I got Yu-Gi-Oh card somewhere around here. Yu-Gi-Oh! You activated my trap hole, you little pervert. Yeah. Let's see here.
Yeah, that's the.
And yeah, we
top
talked.
8.
Yeah.
For Pro Tour.
That pretty much rounds out the year. I don't know. Nothing seemed dominant. I mean, there was that one Grand Prix where it was like, Jund.
That's pretty self-evident. Deathrite Shaman getting banned definitely changed that. I think that was very necessary.
So Deathrite Shaman gets banned, I believe, at the beginning of this year. Yeah, the next year.
In 2014.
So what do you think the landscape's going to look like? What do you think the metagame's going to break down?
I think obviously Twin's going to get a really big head because of that. Affinity's obviously still there, still floating around. I don't think that's going to change at all. The Moira pod decks will probably get a leg up as well. This might be, I don't know if Deathrite Shaman ban comes first or the Birthing Pod ban comes first. Whichever, that's whatever order that comes in. But Scape Shift would have its time in the light to have more time. I don't think Jund will fall off. I don't think Jund falls off losing Deathrite Shaman.
Alright, let's see. Jund, it does. That hurt it. What the heck is going on here? Deathrite Shaman gets banned at the beginning of next year.
Mm-hmm.
Bitter Blossom and Wild Nikado will get undone.
And that's in February.
In 2015.
So a year later, Birthing
gets
Pods
banned.
get banned. Gotcha.
Because yeah, your theory is right. I from what I remember is Deathrite Shaman neutered Jund to the point where now it's meh, and Splitter Twin Birthing Pod take over. The Treasure Cruise comes out a little after that and crushes the format to make it all Delver, and then when they unban or when they ban Treasure Cruise and Dig Through Time, they also ban Birthing Pod because it's like when they banned Mox Opal and Faithless Looting. I think what did they ban? They banned something else. Was it Hogak?
Hogak got a bridge from below.
Because they banned a few cards and it was just to hedge their bet against. I know Faithless Looting to hedge their bet against specifically Arclight Phoenix.
Yes. Yeah. It was definitely just to neuter that deck specifically.
Yeah, so there's a lot of tangents in there. A little longer than we thought we'd go tonight.
I think so too, but we had some good conversations. So yeah, it was a quiet year for Modern 2013 at least.
It was stable.
Yeah,
it was stable,
which is a good thing. I think a quiet, stable year is fine. I mean this is probably the year where we saw the format really have time to cook and get to like a more mature form. Like you saw a really mature Affinity pretty much the last, like going through the year, you didn't see a lot of changing in the lists. It was all very like pretty figured out.
they weren't finding new cards to slot in, or like or
Mhm.
old cards to slot in.
Yeah.
They might go, this new card comes out like Wear Tear, and they go, okay, that's a good card. Goes in two in the sideboard.
Yeah.
It's not like some weird willy nilly like
Yeah.
this whole new card in and or out or something.
Mhm.
People were way more back then. People were way more hesitant to put in new cards in their list than you kind of see today.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, not every card back then was even pushing power level because they were all standard sets, right? So
Very true. Michael, you're gonna have to rewatch. We talk about Burn this episode.
we do.
Kind of why it we talk about it existing, but why it was not really appearing in any form or fashion in competitive tournaments.
Hmm. Yeah, it was definitely just it's lacking some legs at this time. So well, I think that's all I've got.
Yeah,
So.
same for this year. Next we're taking a break. We won't be streaming next week. I'm gonna be gone, and yeah, then week after that,
Will we streaming on Monday though? Maybe I don't know. What's the plan for that? Do you know?
That's a whole nother thing.
Okay.
That's for you
Well,
guys to decide.
We will figure it out, and there might be a stream next week. There might not be a stream next week. We don't know.
Yeah. So. But all I definitely can tell you is no
stream Thursday.
Modern stream on Thursday.
Yep.
So
yep.
We'll see you in 2 weeks, and